Welcome back to my stand-up channel. Counter-terror police believe the Poppy Day hospital bomber carried out Sunday's atrocity after being snubbed for political asylum in Britain. Emad Al Swealmeen, 32, who had no known connections with any terrorist groups, blew himself to bits with a homemade ball-bearing device. CCTV footage captured the moment the device was detonated seconds after cabbie David Perry pulled up in front of the main entrance at 10:59 a.m. Because of Al Swealmeen's severe injuries, it took police several hours to establish a potential identity, and he has yet to be formally identified. It remained unclear when exactly the bomber entered the UK, but it was understood he had been in a long-term dispute with the Home Office over his application for UK residential status, and he had not been granted leave to remain here permanently. A source told The Sun, one of the issues being looked at is whether this unresolved grievance pushed him over the edge and prompted him to carry out the attack. The motor racing enthusiast is said to have changed his first name to match that of Ferrari founder Enzo Ferrari, and he went by the name Enzo Almeni. It's claimed he made the name change to sound less Muslim and appear more Western, in the hope that it would help his asylum application. The Jordanian has connections to both Rutland Avenue and Sutcliffe Street, and the bomb factory where Al Swealmeen constructed his deadly ball-bearing device was yesterday revealed as a bedsit. Police carried out a controlled explosion at the studio room in a Victorian property in Rutland Avenue in the city's upmarket Sefton Park district. Smoke billowed from the house following the 4 p.m. blast, with families having already been evacuated. It was claimed that Al Swealmeen had told a friend he came from Syria, but The Sun understands he was a Jordanian national. He was an asylum seeker who converted to Christianity in Liverpool's Anglican Cathedral in March 2017 and was once arrested for carrying a knife before the terror attack. It's understood he arrived in the UK several years ago, and has mostly lived in Liverpool. He was being supported by Christian volunteers from a network of churches who help asylum seekers, according to reports. And after being arrested for carrying a knife, it's understood he was sectioned in around 2014. Ball-bearing bomb. The 32-year-old was born to an Iraqi mother, and grew up in Dubai, before moving to the UK, it's understood. Al Swealmeen spent 8 months living with devoted Christians Malcolm and Elizabeth Hitchot at their home in the Agbeth district of Liverpool. Former Solider Mr. Hitchot said, he first came to the cathedral in August 2015 and wanted to convert to Christianity. He took an Alpha course, which explains the Christian faith, and completed it in November of that year. That enabled him to come to an informed decision, and he changed from Islam to Christianity and was confirmed as a Christian just before he came to live with us. He was destitute at that time and we took him in. The UK asylum people were never convinced he was Syrian, and he was refused asylum in 2014. He had his case rejected because he has been sectioned due to some mental health incident where he was waving a knife at people from an overpass. Mr. Hitchot explained, he was going to put in a fresh asylum claim. Once he had done it, it was possible for him to be housed again by the Home Office and get £35 a week. He didn't want to stay here anymore. So he could get the accommodation. I gave him notice to leave. He never talked about Islam, terrorism, nothing. Mrs. Hitchot told The Sun, he loved motor racing and went go-karting a lot. He loved it. That's why he names himself after Enzo Ferrari. She added, I bumped into him in a street. He was doing cake decoration at an educational class, a formal course somewhere. He was very enthusiastic. Christian convert. He showed me the designs he had done and what he was hoping to do in an upcoming exam. He was quite artistic. Neighbor Ghulam Shawim, 31, yesterday said, I saw him a couple of times coming from the house. The last time was 2 or 3 months ago. I think he worked as a delivery driver. I never spoke to him. I just saw him on his bike. I work at night, so I'd see him. It seemed like a quiet house. There are many families living here and old people, but I never saw anyone at his house. Officers said Al Swealmeen, who was not known to MI5, primed the bomb in the cab on the way to the hospital, though it was suspected that the homemade device did not explode with full intended force. Security chiefs believe at this stage that he was a lone actor, and have found no firm evidence of any connections to any terrorist groups. The senior investigating officer, Detective Chief Inspector Andrew Meek, said tonight, "Our inquiries are very much ongoing, but at this stage we strongly believe that the deceased is 32-year-old Emad Al Swealmeen. What we know so far." Police named the man killed in the taxi bomb as 32-year-old Emad Al Swealmeen. He also went by the name Enzo Almeni. The terrorist was killed and taxi driver injured in a car bomb blast at Liverpool Women's Hospital on Sunday. Hero cabbie Dave Perry locked the passenger in the taxi to prevent further disaster. The horror is being treated as a terrorist incident, but the motive is unclear. 4 people have been arrested on suspicion of terror offences. The bomb was homemade and manufactured by the passenger in the taxi. Boris Johnson will chair an emergency Cobra meeting today as the terror threat is raised to the second highest level of severe. Al Swealmeen is connected to both the Rutland Avenue and Sutcliffe Street addresses, where searches are still ongoing. We believe he lived at the Sutcliffe Street address for some time and had recently rented the Rutland Avenue address. Our focus is the Rutland Avenue address, where we have continued to recover significant items. We continue to appeal for any information about this incident, and now that we have released his name, any information that the public may have about Al Swealmeen, no matter how small, may be of great assistance to us. Last night, Home Secretary Priti Patel called off a scheduled trip to Paris to meet her French counterpart due to the Liverpool terror incident. The 2 ministers were instead expected to discuss migrant crossings at a virtual meeting. Armed police swooped on Liverpool Women's Hospital just before 11 a.m. on Sunday after the blast in a car park. Police confirmed yesterday that the horror is being treated as a terror incident. 3 suspects, aged 29, 26 and 21, were arrested on Sunday under the Terrorism Act. It was confirmed a 4th man, 20, was held today by officers, with all 4 suspects to be quizzed by counter-terrorism officers. But all 4 have now been released from police custody. Assistant Chief Constable Russ Jackson said, "We are satisfied with the accounts they have provided." Assistant Chief Constable Russ Jackson, Counter-Terrorism Northwest, said the bomber was picked up in Rutland Avenue just before 11 a.m. He then asked to be taken to Liverpool Women's Hospital, which is around 10 minutes away. As the taxi approached the hospital, the explosion tore through the car and engulfed it in a fireball, killing him and injuring cabbie Dave Perry. ACC Jackson told a press conference he has spoken with Dave, who described the drive to hospital as unremarkable. Officers are still trying to establish a motive for the terror blast and said the investigation is continuing at pace. ACC Jackson said they cannot at this time draw any connection with Remembrance Sunday events nearby, but confirmed it is a line of inquiry. The officer added, "Remarkably, the taxi driver escaped from the cab. He has been treated for the injuries he sustained and has now been released from hospital." Active terror. Emergency services quickly attended the scene and Merseyside Fire and Rescue put out the fire, following which it quickly became apparent that the passenger remained in the vehicle and was deceased. It is not clear what the motivation for this incident is. Our inquiries indicate that an improvised explosive device has been manufactured, and our assumption so far is that this was built by the passenger in the taxi. The reason why he then took it to the women's hospital is unknown, as is the reason for its sudden explosion. Although the motivation for this incident is yet to be understood given all the circumstances, it has been declared a terrorist incident and counter-terrorism policing are continuing with the investigation. The officer confirmed 2 addresses in the city have been searched as a result of the investigation. 3 of the suspects were arrested on Sunday at Sutcliffe Street in the Kensington area of Liverpool, while yesterday's arrest was made in the same area. Cops have found significant items at a home searched in Rutland Avenue, with 8 families living nearby evacuated. Sharon Cullen was evacuated with her family on Sunday night as armed cops swooped on her street. She said, "The police pounded on my door and an officer said, 'We need to get you out of the house as soon as possible.' They said, 'Whatever is going on at the back of the house, it could blow the block.' It was really frightening." Bomb blast. Merseyside Chief Constable Serena Kennedy said there is no specific threat to the area, but patrols will be ramped up. She also urged people to remain calm, but vigilant and alert. Dramatic pictures showed the car on fire just inches from the main entrance to the hospital, where 30 babies are born each day. Shocking footage also revealed the moment the taxi exploded in a fireball just seconds after pulling up outside the hospital. Hero cabbie Dave was injured after he leapt from the burning taxi and locked the suspect in the back. His brave actions meant the male passenger carrying the bomb was the only person killed. Dad of 2 Dave has been released from hospital and is now recovering at home. Boris Johnson on Sunday praised the cabbie, saying he acted with incredible presence of mind and bravery. The PM chaired an emergency Cobra meeting following the blast as Britain's terror threat was raised to severe. He said the British people will never be cowed by terrorism, adding, "We will never give in to those who seek to divide us with senseless acts of violence." Source: thesun.co.uk. Please like, share and subscribe. Thank you for watching.